The good old clap, take one.
That's right.
How many of you knew what you wanted to be when you were 7 years old? I did. I wanted to be world champion.
Hey, is there honesty involved in this podcast? Can we be honest?
You can shut your fucking lips.
And then I'll just say, put them up, what? Let's go.
He's like, you look too pretty on the wave. Get ugly.
We can talk about DMT if you want.
I thought we were boxing.
All right, so we have returning lineup guest and one of the all-time best surfers to ever do it at the Bonsai Pipeline, Jamie O'Brien, back on the podcast today. Jamie, thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, no worries. Glad we lined this up, and it's going to be great. Can't wait to just talk story and catch up on everything.
Stoked, yeah. And you're a very, very busy man, but we'll start with where are you at today? What's been going on? Are you getting in the water? Where are you at in the world right now?
I just got back home from Fiji, finally back here at home, and planning on spending at least a couple weeks at home, just taking a little break from surfing. And there is actually waves on the North Shore today, but I hit the reef pretty bad at cloud break, and pretty sore.
For recovery time. Well, our original conversation aired way back in November 2020, and we definitely go deep into your biography there. So we're not going to retread that today, but I'm calling that out for listeners to check it out if they haven't already. But I am curious because you are someone who, you're a man of many talents and certainly diversified talents as you've grown older. But you were probably most singularly synonymous sort of in your younger years as being one of the best surfers at the Bonsai Pipeline. And, a generous read on the season there, although you said there are waves there today, is probably traditionally like October to March is probably the concentrated season. Of course, you can get swells on either side of that. But I am curious as to what you do kind of after the North Shore season shuts down. Do you hang out at home? Do you travel? And particularly, what have you gotten up to in this sort of off season from the North Shore? And also, second question, has that changed a lot since you were younger?
To be quite honest, like, what do we do after March? We start to think maybe we could score a couple end of the season swells that not everybody's flying in for. But honestly, it's time to get on a plane and get out of here. It's time to mix up the content, change the scenery, just go to California, go to Australia, go to Bali, go to Tahiti. Like, you have all these places that just open up for you, because during October to March, you're hardly not going to leave the North Shore. The waves are so good here. It's just one place that's just hard to turn your head away and walk away.
That makes a lot of sense. And like, being a professional surfer, and you've been a professional surfer across so many different dimensions, from, producing your own films to contest surfing, to being a pipe master, to moving really ahead of all the other kind of like the curves in the sense of developing your own vlog and other kind of business interests. But as far as like a general career as a professional surfer, what I hear time and again is it's so hard to develop a rhythm that's consistent year to year. But I'd imagine for someone like yourself, where you have that good chunk of time dedicated to the North Shore, and you probably had that almost your whole life, it's probably nice to have that rhythm of, I'm going to be home for a few months, and then I know in the season where the waves are traditionally not that good, I have all this space to travel. But I know that you kind of don't have to conflate the two seasons. Is that a fair read with how you've kind of approached your career?
Yeah, I think, we're blessed living here in Hawaii on the North Shore, especially right here at Pipeline. The waves are just, it's on a tap. It just starts and it just doesn't stop. And you're like, how is this even possible? And I think what it does is it keeps you busy. It keeps you, ahead of the curve. I think you're constantly building content and creating and getting these opportunity to get in these waves. And then once the season slows down, you can't just sit here and stay home all summer. You gotta get on the grind and go to Mexico, go to Bali, and start working. And like, that was one thing my dad told me. He's like, surfing is a passion. It is a job too. And don't just be there with your hand out waiting for your paycheck. Go out and earn it. And that's kind of one of the mottos I honestly live by. I go out there and earn it, and I love earning it. It feels so good.
You are a hardworking guy. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because structure is, I guess, kind of going back to the question we just asked too, like, structure is always a challenge for surfers in a way, because there's not really a cookie cutter path if you want to be a professional surfer. And I'd imagine too that, when you're doing the qualifying series, there was slightly more structure because the schedule's set, and you're like, I have to do this contest and I do that contest and I know where I'm going, when I'm not at home on the North Shore. You've transitioned away from that and have built this amazing career, capturing content, free surfing. What are the pros and cons with that structure point, right? And I guess my question is, was there any advantage to at least having some other kind of force, in this case, sort of competitive surfing, saying, we need you to be here on these dates and that's where you're going to perform, compared to, well, now I can go anywhere at any time, which is very liberating, but at the same time, it's on me to figure it out and to do the work. And if I'm not motivated, then it's just not going to happen.
Well, I think there's two ways, right? It's like, WSL is a content eating machine. Jamie O'Brien is a content eating machine. And we're both building and creating really cool, authentic brands. And my brand just happens to be more of a free surfing, fun and more relatability than the WSL. And you guys are documenting, people winning world titles, people crying, people frustrated, people, the highs and the ups and the downs. And I feel like there's two paths here, right? And I feel like, most surfers want both paths, whether they're competing or not. Like they get to, I feel like most people don't compete and they could understand the life that I live a little bit. And then some people love watching people compete and seeing how competitive our sport is. And, with guys like John and Italo and Gabe and the whole roster of these guys, they're pushing the envelope so high. It's just, the bar is just going here. And even in women's surfing, it's just going through the roof. And me as a free surfer, I love to sit at home and watch the events when the events are on. But when the events are not on, I'm out there creating my own content as well.
It's an interesting thing you bring up too, because we've had this conversation a few times on our side where if you compare it to other sports, like let's just say like baseball, right? And, of all the people in the world that play baseball, like Little League, it's a huge amount of people. And then it's a smaller group that play in high school, a smaller group that play in college, smaller group that make it to the minor leagues, and even smaller group that make it to the major leagues. But more than likely, probably a high percentage of every kid that plays baseball, even at like the Little League level, still a fan. They're like, oh yeah, I didn't make it to the next level, but I like baseball. I like playing. I like to watch. Surfing hasn't really, in my opinion, hasn't exactly captured that, in part because of what you're saying, where it's like, for a lot of people, it's an escape and it's aspirational and I want to travel, I want to be free. But, we probably have that same system where there's a lot of kids that compete at the amateur level. There's less that make it to the pro juniors. There's less that make it to the QS, less that make it to the CS, less that make it to the CT. But maybe counter to some other sports, there's probably a lot of kids that are like, when I didn't make it to the next level, I was just happy to go free surfing. And even if you've never surfed, I can appreciate, and as someone who's a fan, it's like, yeah, I like the idea of just free surfing and traveling and seeing new waves and seeing people create kind of outside the structure of a 30-minute heat.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like too, I feel like the relatability is traveling. The relatability is surfing and like going to relatable places, like going to Bali. Everyone wants to see a Bali vlog. Everyone wants to, see me in California. Like people probably psyched to watch me at Chopes, but they can't really relate, they relate like that. I would be scared, and like these little things. So it's like, you got to find the perfect balance and what is it, and trying to figure out what makes you happy, what makes the fans happy, why are you doing it?
Totally. And the relatability thing is interesting too, because I think we touched on this in the last conversation we had too, but it's pretty fair to say that was a big strength in, Dane's sort of Marine Layer Productions or Chapter 11. It was, here is this world-class surfer surfing waves that everyone surfs every day, and you're like, wow, I didn't know someone could do that, and yeah. It as you pointed out, like surfing's really cool because you can get that from elite level surfers such as yourself, but then you can also get the stuff where it's like, oh my God, like JOB lit himself on fire and pulled in at like 10-foot chopes. That's insane. In terms of your travels this summer, can you give us any hints on where you've been before the vlogs hit the airwaves?
Yeah, so I mean, the last couple of vlogs has been cloud break. We went and scored a swell, and actually we were there, and then there was this another swell like coming down the pipeline. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Let's just extend one more week." And in Fiji, I haven't been there in 10 years, and it was just so incredible. Scored some insane waves, some of the best waves I've ever surfed in the last 4 years. And the world's changing for the best. Everyone's getting out there, everyone's out, no mask, everyone's happy, everyone's
Right.
you can see everyone's smiles, and like we're just we're just opening up the envelope and just getting started.
It's interesting. I mean, and it is one of those things where it's like the entire world kind of collectively went through this global pandemic, and then the iterative effects of like economies becoming more challenging and travel becoming hugely challenging. For someone like yourself, like did your business model change when the world shut down? And I'm sure it did, but like how drastic was it for you? And then does it feel different on the other side of the pandemic when travel's opening back up?
I think just the way I see the changes is now we could do what we want to do. Before we were a little up against the fence, not sure what was going to happen with our whole industry and every other industry in the whole world. We're all a little scared, and and like I don't know, that's just things we got to deal with in life. I wasn't the only one, neither were you. But like we were all dealing with this, and people getting sick and being very conservative, and now I feel like we could really live our lives and really film and have fun, and not just me, just everybody. Just so good to see everybody down at the WSL finals. So good to see everybody at dinner with no mask. Like, it's just feels like the world's getting back on track for the most part.
Makes sense. Back to your surfing, and I know I kind of pigeonholed you somewhat by saying earlier in your career you were almost singularly identifiable as the best surfer ever at Pipeline. But taking a look back at your career and the videos that you produced, you were so far ahead of the curve just in terms of like progressive, radical, high-performance surfing, aerials and fin-free maneuvers in a way that I'd argue probably wasn't necessarily appreciated in the competitive realm at that time. How much of that kind of surfing do you still produce in the vlog space? And I have a follow-up question, but just compared to, I guess my question is, compared to getting huge barrels, compared to going to these places and having a lot of fun with a lot of this relatable content, like in your own surfing, like how much do you feel like you're pushing the envelope just in that sort of, I don't know, medium to small wave, high performance surfing?
Honestly, I feel like just in the last 5 years, I haven't really been pushing too hard in that category. But like at the end of the day, there's going to be waves that suit your surfing, and where are those waves? And for me, yeah, Bali is one of those places. Mentawais is one of those places. Surfing after the wind comes on shore definitely helps you do airs a lot easier. I just don't do a lot of those things anymore. Right. I travel for the best, most perfect swells in the world. That's my goal. And unfortunately, the last few years, we haven't been doing a lot of that. But I feel like you're going to see a lot more of that. But I mean, it's like I say, I want to travel to make myself happy. I can't compete with the John Florences and the Gabriel Medina and the Felipe Toledo airs. But like, I could go head to head with them in the barrel, and I go head to head with them a soft top on their normal board. But it's like, I know my strong points, and I love surfing in general, but I can leave the airs up to the boys. They're pretty good at them.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up John too, because John and I sat down. We had lunch together in Garagegon this year, and it was, I want to say it was before he hurt his knee again, and I was actually out in the water when he did it, and it was on his rotation, and he landed kind of funny, and I was thinking about it maybe after the lunch, and the comparison I kind of thought in my head, and this might be a little doom and gloom, but is the former quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck, who signed like a huge contract, was a great quarterback, but was like, I'm getting hurt, I'm done, I'm not playing football anymore. And I'm wondering if for someone like yourself, if the aerial kind of surfing worries you in terms of injury. And the reason I bring that up is because someone like yourself, you're 39, I'm 39. I can imagine you doing what you do in the barrel for decades to come. right? Barring anything serious happening. Does that calculus go into the way you approach your career, where you're like, look, the air thing's not necessarily pushing the envelope for me, especially compared to some of these other people that you listed, but the barrel thing does, and the barrel thing for me, I want to be doing it until, I'm 60, 70, however old. And if I'm focused on that, I can do it.
To be completely honest, the way I look at John surfing is he's always surfing 120%. And that's why he's always getting hurt. He's going big. Every turn he's going for it is larger than the one before. Every air is larger than the air before. Like there's no 50, 60, 70, 80% John Florence, and,
right.
And that's something scary about surfing at such a high performance is you're going to get hurt. You're sending out on the flat, stomping these huge airs. It looks like it's like so sick and so smooth. You're stomping out your knees, your ankles and your ligaments and your joints. It's just all catching up on you. And I'm not sure why I kind of shined away from a lot of my high performance surfing, but I was just so happy with surfing, perfect barrels in general. I remember there was one point when I was like 18, 19, I really wanted to make a show. I'm like, everyone's saying I could surf pipe good and no one's talking about my high performance. So then I spent a few years focusing on my high performance and proving the world that hey, I have this progressive side and it worked. It was on. I always remember they were throwing my name around with the Dane, the Jordy, the, all these guys and the Julians, and then I just was like, okay, that's what I wanted. Now I keep surfing pipe. And then I just shined away. And, yeah, I don't know. I think everyone wants to get barreled. Everyone wants to stomp in air. Everyone wants to get barreled.
That makes sense. Yeah, you in so many ways, you surfing continues to get better and better. I mentioned your age, which is not old, but I don't feel as young as I used to. In terms of taking care of your body, have you always been focused on fitness and recovery and diet and sleep? Or is this something that you've sort of tuned into in recent years?
To be quite honest, the older you get, the more your metabolism slows down. And, a lot of young guys are like, oh, you're looking fat. Like, okay, buddy, wait till you hit 28, dude. You can't eat freaking Spam musabis or freaking pasta every night. Things change. So in that aspect, I've changed what I eat a little bit and a little conscious of certain things, but besides that, I'm just surfing, having fun. I'm not in the gym training, trying to be the gnarliest guy. I want to enjoy my life. I know my boundaries. I know my limits. I like to push my limits, but I don't want to just be in a gym day in and day out, getting stronger and just putting all this time and energy into something where I could just be chilling at home and just masterminding the next YouTube video. I'm having fun with it. And I think that's what really matters and counts. Surfing to me is my outlet. It's my everything. It's what I strive to do every day, and it's nice. I don't feel the urge to train.
Makes sense. Going back to a point we brought up earlier, just how, and again, I'm not going to go deep into this because I know we talked about it a lot in our last conversation, but just to reference just how ahead of the curve you've always been in the sense of producing your own films and doing your own deals and really breaking the mold in a lot of ways for what a professional surfer could do and could look like and a way to make their living, and a huge part of that is the path you've cleaved in the vlog space. We now see so many surfers, a lot of them from the North Shore actually, but kind of following in your footsteps, but you are still very, very much the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to surfing vlogs. Do you interact with these other guys? Your Nate Florences, your Koa Rothmans, et cetera? Is it healthy competition? Or, they still look at you and be like, oh, Jamie's here, we got to get out of the way kind of stuff?
No. So basically, to be honest, I was like, hey, Koa, you should start a vlog. Hey, Nate, you should start a vlog. Hey, John, you should start a vlog. And he's like, I don't know about you.
What's that?
And I told all these guys, get on it. You guys are blowing it. I think I created my competition, and I think I need competition. It keeps me striving. It makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to stay ahead of the young dogs. I'm in it for the long run. I love building and creating content. I've been doing it for so long. And my whole goal with YouTube and what we're doing on our platforms, one is family friendly. Two is the best possible surfing content on YouTube. Spend the time, spend the money, and do it right. I'm not taking shortcuts. I'm not cutting corners. I am doing it as best and honest and family friendly as I can. And at the end of the day, that's how I want to see my projects portrayed. I want people to go, he makes the best content on YouTube and surfing. And I think we got it on lockdown. Pretty happy about it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to dive into the Jamie O'Brien Surf app. We'll be right back. All right. So, Jamie, talk to us about the Jamie O'Brien Surf app and the partnership with Twin. How did this relationship come about, and where did this come from for you?
Well, I guess it was really perfect timing. We opened up a surf school at Turtle Bay, and then this guy, Jim, reached out to me. He's like, hey, I'm trying to put together a surf app. I'd love for you to be involved. And I was like, this sounds absolutely amazing. Like, let's talk about it, because I was always thinking like, oh, how could I make YouTube videos kind of like a Kel Brock, like, instructional videos, but actually getting to the point, not beating around the bush for 10 minutes and making this 10-minute video so you can make AdSense, so you can make revenue, so you can pay yourself. How do we just, shortcut it? And you're like, you want to learn how to do an air, you want to learn how to do a bottom swing, you want to learn how to get barreled? Shortcut, here you go. You have Jamie O'Brien in your pocket. You're ready. I'm ready to answer questions. I'm ready to, tell you everything you need to know about surfing.
It's interesting, and it kind of is like the next step, because I think about this a lot, where, you think about like the 1970s, and it's pre-internet, barely kind of VHS surf movies. And if you're at some, obscure beach in wherever, like America, Australia, South America, Africa, whatever, like really your only reference points for really, really good surfing are, well, if the contest comes to town and, the world's best surfers come to town, I can see them surf live, very fleeting. Or other than that, it's just the best surfer at my beach. And then, VHS comes in so you can burn out like, whatever, the green iguana on the VHS tape and be like, I just watched that 100 times, et cetera, et cetera. And then, as the world got in a way smaller through the information age, it's like, it was almost the democratization of information for surfers around the world, right? The shapers all had access to the latest sort of designs, the access to diet and fitness and strength training and technique. Like you could watch, Kelly Slater or Jamie O'Brien. It doesn't matter if they're not at your beach. You can see them surf, you can watch it online, and then you can apply that to your own surfing. This feels like yet another step that's directed at, if you want to get better and you want to get better at these things, here's how.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the most important part about, partnering with Twin is, for one, I feel like I'm the right person to explain all this stuff. I have a very credible name in surfing. I've been surfing my whole life. I've won, big events. I've done big airs. I've done, I got a good understanding of everything, and I just feel like it's a perfect storm. I mean, if you're looking to get better at surfing, we break down every technique. You're having a one-on-one conversation with me. This app is next level, and I think the most important part about this app is actually me sitting down for days and days on end, answering 2,000 to 3,000 questions, 10 different ways. It was incredibly draining for me, but I felt like the overall delivery to teach people the right way was very on point.
It's interesting. And if for people who haven't checked it out yet, like, do you think that there is stuff there for, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate or even sort of like a very high level surfer? Because I think probably surf coaching in the past has sort of been tailored to, one segment or another, right? Where it's like, I went to a surf school. If I'm an intermediate surfer, I'm not going to learn a whole lot. If I'm a beginner surfer, I'm going to learn a shit ton. I went to, a high level ex-professional coach that I work with at the beach. I'm trying to take my surfing from a fairly high level to an even higher level. Do you think that your apps kind of has something tailored to, I mean, we're being general here, but like those three categories of beginner, intermediate, and advanced?
To be completely honest, I think definitely the barrel riding aspect of this app is as good as anything's ever been explained into major deep detail. I think, to be honest, I've been, called into multiple little functions for Red Bull to help with backside barrel riding and techniques and stuff, and with some of the world's best. So I feel this app can help and will help people that are really good already, because it's I mean, I'm just sharing all my secrets now, so it's all out on the table.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I remember, I'm sure you were working with surfers before this, but the first time it came onto my radar was 2015, where, title contender at the time, Adriano de Souza, reached out to you and was like, the last event's at Pipe. I'm in the hunt for the title. Can you help me? And my understanding is you did, and he won the world title. And I just thought that was a very, very cool thing, because obviously, the optics were interesting as well. You have yourself, who is this distinguished Hawaiian surfer from Hawaii, pipe expert. You got Adriano de Souza, who is a Brazilian competitive machine. It was an interesting sort of blending of opposites in a way, and the results were awesome. And I'm wondering, was that a significant coaching moment for you? Were you doing a lot of it before then? Could you connect threads from maybe that experience to this app today?
I guess that, tells a lot, is that, Adriana did show up at my doorstep and was like, I need to stay here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really renting any rooms. Like, nah, I'm staying here. He was very persistent, and he's like, I want you to coach me. I want some help. I want to understand pipeline. I want to be around it. He wanted it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And honestly, he didn't pay me any money. It was just like, he was just paying rent at the house, hanging out. And we did some, coaching. I talked to him, broke down, certain things and applied certain techniques and showed him those techniques and different little spots in the lineup. And he went and won the Pipeline Masters. Crazy.
And the world title.
And a world title. That's a big task to do, man. He's the first Brazilian ever to win the Pipeline Master and win a world title.
It's a big deal. I'm curious. It's pretty funny to think about, like, he didn't, obviously you said he wasn't paying you for the coaching, but he's like, I'm going to rent here. And I could imagine the way he goes about his business. It's just, you guys are having coffee in the mornings. He's like, I have a list of questions, and you're like, well, I'm just trying to have my coffee. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, and with that opened up, Italo to reach out for when Italo was competing to win the Pipeline Masters and the world title. He had Shane in his corner, but Shane reached out to me and said, hey, Italo would love some help, some insight around the lineups. So, Italo and I linked up, and sure enough, like through the help of Shane and myself, and right there we saw another Pipeline Master, another world title clinch. And then Carissa reached out and she's like, hey, would love for you to help me. And, it's really like humbling for me, with these, massive, mega super surfer stars reaching out and asking me for help, for guidance, for technique, for, all this. So, I mean, I feel like it's very on par for the app, and I feel like I could teach anyone just as good as anyone else how to do an air, how to do a frontside cutback, how to do a backside snap, how to get barreled, just whatever it is, from duck dives to, wipeout techniques. Like, I have it dialed, and I don't know.
I love it. And back to the Jamie O'Brien surf app, my understanding is it's not just you on the app. It's, you got Nate Florence working on sort of surf strength. You've got, I think, Ben Gravy and Taylor Knox coming on as well. So you kind of are collecting these diverse experts from the surfing world and creating a singular place for people to access that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, and that's the whole goal, right? It's like, we want to cover every base. So if you're like, oh, Jamie O'Brien is not, I already learned enough from Jamie, I want to learn how to prepare for all this stuff. And you can go to Nate, because Nate is a fitness warrior junkie. He's just in there, just, working out, strength training, and like conditioning and eating, and, like, he covers all those bases, and he's an amazing surfer. And then you got Ben Gravy, king of novelty. It's like, it's like you have all these like different aspects of like people that are going to be involved in this. And it's like, no matter like what kind of surfer you are, the answer is there for you. They're going to teach you everything.
It sounds really, really cool. So just spell it out in crayon for both me and the listeners. If we want to find this app, if we want to get involved, like walk us through the steps, and also, maybe where we should start once we're in there.
Yeah, honestly, you could download it on just in the App Store. Type it in, boom, Apple, download. I know in the beginning of the app, before you get to a certain part where you have to pay to learn, all the techniques, there is one-on-one conversation. Ask Jamie anything. You could be like, hey, Jamie, how's your day going? I'll be like, hey, day's going good. Can I see Reef and Grom? We'll walk you downstairs. You could hang out with Reef. You can hang out with Grom. You want to give Grom a treat, or do you want to give Reef a treat? It's just a really cool, way to, dive deeper into my life, but at the same time, learn a lot more about me. And, there is a website as well, but you want to have the app, because you want to stroll into the app and be like, oh, how do I do a top turn? And you need to go in every session thinking today is the perfect day to start working on my top turn. And until you get that top turn dialed, that's when you move to the next step. Because there's like 3 different phases, like beginner, medium, expert. So we walk you through all the steps. And that's the coolest thing about this is it's like, even if you're a beginner, we want to get you to the expert level. And we spent the time breaking it down in multiple different ways to get you there. And it's a step-by-step process, and I think that's what's so important is like where to look, where to start your turn, when to start initiating, your front foot and where to, follow your nose or your board. Just all this stuff is like super in detail. There's everything there. It's sick.
How many questions do people get to ask you before the paywall kicks in? It's not like a genie in the lamp situation where you get 3 and it's like, oh, Jamie, how you doing? It's like, no shit, no, that wasn't a question. I have a question about entry speed and hand placement instead.
Yeah, I think right when you want to start talking techniques, that's going to be jumped into like a paid part of the app. I think it's like $5 or $6 a month. It's super mellow. There's a bunch of other apps, to be honest, out there that are charging, $20 or $30 a month. So, we came in at a very user-friendly entry point with our bar set so much higher than everybody else, and that's the whole thing in life, right? Is whatever you want to do, you want to set the bar and the standard high, because usually the bar is here and you need to come into anything in life and set it up here, and you reach and you strive for it and you make the best possible content and you win. So we're up there. So we're just having fun making, people learn everything that I always wanted to learn in surfing. And it's just right there. You'd be like, hey, Jamie, can you teach me how to do a bottom turn? I'd be like, all right, so are you a beginner? Are you an expert? Or are you just intermediate? Like, all right, you're intermediate. Let's jump into it. And then we start breaking it down. It's pretty sick.
I love it. Well, we're gonna get one more break in from our sponsors. Then we've got one last segment, and we're gonna blaze through that so I can download the Jamie O'Brien Surf app and start asking you more questions. We'll be right back. All right. So we've talked a little bit about how Jamie O'Brien spent his summer vacation. We've talked about the Jamie O'Brien Surf app. You're back home. I'm assuming you're not going to be leaving for a few months now. You're going to get dialed into the rhythms of the North Shore autumn and winter. You've got so many things going on in your life. You've got your businesses, you've got your apps, you've got your vlogs. How do you balance your day to day, especially when the waves start turning on the North Shore?
When the waves start turning on the North Shore, you get ahead on filming content. I mean, there's been times where I've been like 2 months ahead on vlogs, and I don't even need to film, but I just keep filming because it's just what I know to do every day. And a funny thing, if people ask me, they're like, oh, so like, how much do you really film? I go, and I look at the filmers and I go, you could answer this one. That way they get the good, honest, answer. And they always go, looked at me, and I look at them, they go, probably filmed like 3 times with us or he hasn't even, like, if I surf 100 times, they're like maybe like twice he didn't call us. So we always say I go for the soul sometimes, but not very often. But I mean, that's just what I do. I wake up, I want to film. I want to document my life, and that's what life's all about. So this winter, we're going to be doing a lot of vlogging and just trying to figure out how we can raise the bar higher, better quality, user-friendly Grom content for the world. Let's go.
The Pipe Masters is now a specialty event. It's going to be going on with Vans supporting it this December. Are you planning on competing in it?
Yeah, I was just recently told that I was one of the picks to be in the Vans contest. Not sure. I never got like an official letter, but someone that's running the event was like, "You're in the contest."
See, turn up to the beach marshal and be like, "I got this text. Where's my jersey?"
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I've seen weirder things, you know.
Definitely weirder things in surf contests.
Yeah, it's a contest. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I'm happy. I won my Pipe Master. I get insane waves at Pipeline. I'm not going to sit here and complain.
I know I asked you this before, but it's been a couple of years, and I'm curious if the answer is updated because, you have this quiver of soft tops, and you're doing just amazing shit on them all over the world, including at Pipeline. But then you also have, your quiver of, surfboards, like, polyurethane, glass, epoxies, whatever you're running. What, like, and I guess my question is because I've seen you surf the soft tops in like huge, perfect Pipeline. Like, what's your decision making process on like, well, I'm going to ride that board today or this kind of board today?
To be quite honest, I just sometimes it just looks crowded, and I feel like I don't feel really competitively hungry to go out there and compete with everybody. I feel like sitting 10 feet out on my soft top and rolling in. But I mean, I kind of looked at this winter. I'm like, I really want to I want to just give it like a really good winter. Like I want to be on my Takora a lot more than I was last year, and I think it's just that it's just weird. On that day, I make the decision.
Right.
And sometimes it's scary. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this barrel on this board. Like, what am I doing? Like this could be bad. So that's why I started wearing a helmet on the bigger days with the soft top, because I am risking it and I'm pushing the issue. So I was like, well, I could be safer, right? I could throw a float suit on, I could have a helmet, like, I'm doing my part. So I feel like this winter I want to do a little bit more Takoro surfing and soft tops, but more Takoro. I want to let all the Groms know I'm not just old uncle out the back on the inside left.
And the helmet things, it's a little bit full circle for you because when you were growing up, and I think it was because of an ear condition, you used to tape your head and have the helmet on, right?
Yeah, I used to have a ear infection, and I struggle with not being able to surf. And my dad figured out that if we put earplugs, duct tape, and a bathing cap over my head and a helmet, I'll be good. So been recently wearing a helmet a little bit out of pipe. I don't know, just kind of like my theory on it, right? I'm 39. I'm going to give it another 10 years. I want to give it my best 10 years. I want to just put my head down and not get hurt. I don't want to hit my head because the one big hit to the head, you're out.
Yeah. 100%.
Out for life, maybe, but permanently damaged very highly. Cool conversation I had with Tom Carroll and the reason why he wears a helmet. I asked him, I was like, oh, so what made you want to wear a helmet? He goes, Jamie, I had this guy I used to surf pipe with all the time. Super nice guy, so talkative. I'd always pal out the back and talk to him, and great guy. Love the guy. And I left back to Australia, and someone told me he took a pretty bad wipeout, but then he was okay. And I came back and I saw him like 2 years later, and he was usually like a very like outgoing guy. And Tom pals up. He's like, hey, what's up, buddy? I haven't seen you in a couple of years. And the guy just turned it on. He goes, hey, Tom. And he's just like, whoa, it's my boy. Like, and it scared him, and like these waves that we surf are nothing to like, it might look like I'm playing around and relaxing. And I am, but I'm just trying to like, that kind of like made me maybe this last 10 years, I'm just going to, try and wear a helmet and anything bigger than 6 feet, and I just don't want to get hurt. And I just love life. I love filming. I just love every aspect that I got delivered and this one life I get to live. And I'm like, last 10 years, I'm going to do it right. And I'm just going to just check it. Bam. All for the boys. and the girls. You guys go out there and have fun, have it. I'm out.
I mean, I'm sure you're across this too, but it's not even just the potential to hit the reef or just to take a bad wipeout on a wave that you're trying to surf. Like, there's also all this information and data and analysis coming out, even around like micro concussions, like taking waves on the head and duck diving. Like, it's such an intense wave that it is one of those things that, like, you could take a few micro concussions and, as you said, you could be changed forever.
When you wipe out a pipe, man, if you don't hit the reef, you're slapping your head really hard on the water. It hurts. I don't know. Wear a little flip suit, throw a helmet on. Dude, I got 10 years left, dude. I'm just checking out. Peace. In my mind, like, the biggest trophy to me is being able to live here at Pipeline and being fortunate enough to be a part of it. Because, like, growing up here, I always wanted to be a part of it. I was like, how do I forever be a part of it? I want to be like a Jerry Lopez, where I, like, have this Jerry Lopez house, and, like, every time you walk down the pipe path, you're like, Jerry. Every time you walk down I just felt like I just wanted to be a part of Pipeline and surfing forever. And that's part of the reason why I work so hard. I don't want to be like that. Hey, remember that guy Jamie used to surf pipe? Yeah. Where is he? I don't know. I don't know. I was like, whether I lived here or I didn't, I would still be out there surfing. And that's where all my friends are. That's my happy place. And that's where I reconnect with everybody. Every winter is out in the lineup. And to be honest, sometimes Pipeline is a very, very greedy place. Most of the time it is. It's me, I, my wave, my. And I look forward to letting all that go one day. And sometimes when I paddle on the soft top, I feel like I really let it go. And that's why I ride the softboard out there, because I'm just pushing myself and I'm catching waves easier and just cruising. When I paddle on the coral, I'm like, I'm gonna get the wave of the day. I mean, you got to tell yourself that, you got to go out there mentally strong that I am going to go out there and get a really good wave. And surfing, then when someone drops in on you, you're kind of bummed.
Makes a lot of sense. And, so we have the Vans Pipe Master Specialty event in December now, and the championship tour as of this season now kicks off at Pipeline late January, early February with the Billabong Pipeline Pro. And we got amazing waves for the opening stop of the season this year. It was won by nearly, days away from turning 50, Kelly Slater, as well as wildcard Moana Jones Wong. It was really, really cool to see. I'm not sure if you're there on the ground to watch, but, even if not, like, what were some of the things that you observed with the championship tour starting at Pipeline as opposed to finishing, which it had done for several years?
To me, that doesn't really bother me or affect me how everything plays out. You could almost guarantee that, there's a few people that are going to win the Pipeline Masters, and Kelly Slater's, the master. I think that was his 8th Pipeline Master win. Like, I had this goal, like, maybe I could, like, outbeat Kelly on Pipe Master wins or just overall pipe event wins. That never happened. He's too gnarly. Right. But what that does for me is it strives me to, be out there when I'm 50 doing the same thing. Why couldn't I, take care of yourself and strive for it? I mean, but, like, the event starting in Hawaii, so sick to see Kelly win. So awesome. Everyone, favorite surfer is Kelly Slater and forever will be. And insane for Moana Jones. It's just like taking candy from the kids. Moana out there. She's so good, man. Especially if it's laughs, big laughs. Oh man, say goodbye. She's gonna win so many pipe events in her near future. And I feel like she's light years ahead on the left thing. If she works on her right game, I don't think anyone's going to beat her for the next 15 years.
100%. She was really impressive.
The most winning Pipeline Master ever. If she executes how she's been executing. Amazing. Sure. So
Kelly should watch out for her on the title count. Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciated this conversation. Before we go, we put some feelers out to the Instagram community at The Lineup Pod. We got a ton of questions back, and we've whittled them back to 3. So the first one is from @vaguely_ethnic_guy, who asks, what was the reason for you to live a sober life living on the North Shore?
You know, I don't know. I just, I'll be honest. Like I have some drinks, but besides that, I don't know. Like my sister was kind of like caught up in some stuff when I was younger, and it was scary. And I was younger than her, and I looked up to her, and I just saw the path she was taking. It wasn't the best path. And then she honestly got everything together, and just like was like super like, the sister I wanted. Like, and my dad always told me, stay out of trouble and stay in the water. If you keep your kids in the water, they'll stay out of trouble for the most part. I don't know. I really love life, and I've seen a lot of people throw their lives away by bad choices, and I don't want to be that person. And I know these things can be addicting and very heavily addicting, and I don't know, man. I had to change people that I was hanging out with and make some decisions for myself, and a lot of peer pressure. And it's not the easiest place to live, but neither is anywhere. It's like, you are who you hang out with, and you got to always understand that. And there's a famous thing: nothing good happens after 11. You can call it 12, but it's like I used to just like if we're going on partying and going hanging out, like I would always just come home by like 12.
Yeah, that number drops lower when you get older. You're like, nothing good after not. You're just telling your kids like nothing good happens after 8. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just want to go to bed and feel good in the morning and make things happen. Okay, I got a really cool one. So I was talking to Jerry Lopez a couple months ago, and he was like, Jamie, I've been sober since 1979. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yep. He goes, I had this big night out. I was partying with this Hollywood guy, and it was this crazy night. Like, woke up the next day, the waves, it was the best I've ever seen California, Jamie, and I just couldn't surf. And it hurt me so bad. I just was like, from this day on out, I'm done. The guy's a legend, dude. He's 75 or something like that. And he's like a Grom running around, surfing, like snowboarding, traveling the world, movie premieres, like super inspirational. And it made me think like, wow, this is the guy to be like. He's leading the path for Kelly.
It's a very singular moment for him. It's very, very cool. Next question we have is from @Shane_Hunt793, who asks, what is the single most important skill to become a good surfer?
I would say the single most best skill to become a good surfer is mind over matter. You got to mentally put it here and then apply and keep applying and applying and applying. You got to go out there with a positive mindset. You need to go out there and fulfill what you have here. Because when you do that, that is the biggest reward in surfing. And you'll understand like, oh, that's how I do it. I set my goals here and then I achieve them. And that's just, to me, it's mind over matter. And, push yourself. Don't be a surfer that is happy with your surfing here. Push it a little bit every time, like that's going to make you a better surfer. Push your limits a little bit.
I like it. Last question that we pulled from the Instagram community is from @Aiden_Stark-Chessa, who asks, do you believe that you have a specific mindset that allows you to keep innovating?
No, I don't. No, I don't really know how I keep innovating. I'm rolling with it. Like, I remember there at a time, like no one liked people in the water with soft tops. I get rousted. Get that board out of here, beat it. Like, just ride this board. I'm going to ride. I'm just going to do me. And, my thing, man, is like, do what you love to do, follow your dream, follow your passion, and work hard at it. And be a good person, and everything's going to be like, everything's going to go hand in hand. Life's all about meeting people, making and building relationships, and doing what you love to do. And I feel like you put all those together, life is pretty cool.
Great advice. Well, thanks to everyone who wrote in at the Lineup Pod on Instagram. We're now down to our final segment. So it's time for the lightning round presented by BF Goodrich. So these are 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. If you could only have one board set up for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Thruster.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Burrito.
Last book you read?
Never read a book.
Best surf film ever?
My best one ever. Who is Joby?
One wave you never have to go back to?
Chopo.
If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life?
It's the hardest question anyone's ever asked me. Pipeline.
Best person to share a lineup with?
Flynn Novak.
Worst person to share the lineup with?
No comment.
Last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
Starting a podcast.
Jamie O'Brien, thanks so much for coming back on the lineup. Everyone, check out the Jamie O'Brien Surf app, as well as JOB's vlog on YouTube. Always a pleasure, my man. I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.